So many of us are used to various insects making their way into our basements, especially in the spring or summer. Well, our naturalist Brian Keating came across a different animal tenant recently. Hi there, Brian.
Hey, Chris.
This is huge. A tiger in a southern Alberta basement. What?
Yep. It ain't your ordinary tiger, though, Chris. It's what you might visualize, especially, considered I worked at the zoo for so many years. But it was indeed a native Alberta tiger, and I actually encountered two of them.
What?
And it's the tiger salamander, as you mentioned.
Salamander.
Yeah. I was down south of Pincher Creek 2 weeks ago, and some friends who live on a ranch invited us over to see their ranch house basement salamander. and it was the first tiger I've encountered since November of 2020, when my neighbor encountered one in his Inglewood backyard, and that was a very rare sighting.
Tell us a bit more about what they look like and what they're like.
Well, they can grow to about 20 centimeters, so that's about 8 inches long. They've got bold. In fact, they are the largest terrestrial salamander in North America, which is kind of interesting. They've got bold markings, hence the name tiger. They look. I guess they look like an abstract salamander tiger because they've got color from brownish to greenish to yellow. The rest of their backs are black. Some of them can be dark brown. Like other salamanders, they're smooth-bodied. They love the rain, Chris. Probably they will be on the move in various parts of the prairie habitats where they live because they move at night in rainstorms. And they've got shallow grooves on the side of their body. They've got short snouts, thick necks, strong legs, and quite long tails. They're sexually dimorphic, so the males are different from the females. The males have a little bit longer tail than the females. They can live up to, according to some records, up to 25 years and perhaps even longer. Our friends have enjoyed the presence of their two salamanders for the 12 years that they've lived in the ranch house. And they actually came with the house. So the previous owners introduced the salamanders to the new owners and entrusted them essentially to care for and protect the salamanders in their basement habitat.
Okay, so what were these two tiger salamanders? I mean, what do they do in that basement?
In front of and beside the tiger's den, my friend has placed a shallow pottery water dish that's low enough for the salamanders to easily climb into when they want, so they have access to water anytime. And she keeps the dirt floor directly in front of the tiger's den a little bit moist. But their behavior, Chris, it was just too damn funny. When we turned on the light switch to go down the steep wooden staircase into the basement, the salamanders immediately came running towards us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they basically to greet us. Of course, they knew they were going to get fed. And the way that happens, my friend has a little bowl of mealyworms and of mealworms, and she just feeds the mealworms with a pair of tweezers to them when they come out. And, any animal trainer will tell you that they know that food is a very powerful way to modify behavior. It certainly modifies my behavior.
So these two, they live in the basement, and you suspect that they do go out into the wild.
Yeah.
I imagine that's the case for anyone who is lucky enough to have tiger salamanders in their basement.
Yeah, well, some of the older homes on the prairies have cisterns built into their basements to collect water for household use off the roof. And an old timer in Saskatchewan told me years ago, decades ago when I worked out there, that you could tell if a cistern had good, potable, drinkable water if there was a salamander or two living in the cistern. So basements and salamanders perhaps have had a unique relationship with prairie people for a long time.
So if people are thinking, oh, I don't have one of those in my basement, I mean, what could you do? I mean, where could you go to see a wild tiger salamander?
There is an opportunity. If you type into your search engine salamander habitat hero, it'll come up with Nature Alberta's website, and they talk about the Waterton National Park program where you can actually volunteer to be a salamander hero. The season for that volunteer program is already done for this year, but you can plan for it for next year. You have to apply before their cutoff date in mid-March. But that signs you up for a half-day volunteer stint on a specific April date. When we were down there, we met up with another good friend who's an extreme salamander keener, and she had spent the morning volunteering with the Waterton National Park volunteer salamander habitat heroes, and she assisted cleaning debris from the under-road crossing structures, which you've seen when you've driven into the park. She did come across a long-toed salamander, which is Alberta's only other species of salamander when she was volunteering. But up until that point, she had never seen a tiger salamander, and we didn't tell her that we were going down into the basement of my friend's place until we took her there. And then these salamanders came running out. That was her first encounter with a tiger salamander, and I'm telling you, the excitement was intense.
What a treat for her. They are super cool creatures. All right, Brian, we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Chris.
Brian Keating, our naturalist here on the Homestretch. You could find him online at greatbignature.com.